Hello. Welcome everyone. We are live. Yay! So today is live. Of course, it's Thursday. It's 1:30. It's time to do this again. This is our third week of going live with you guys and just giving you some insights, some tips. I'm so excited about this subject today. We're going to talk about why some CEOs fail to prioritize workplace culture. So, again, my name is Miracle Simeon. I am the COO of Veaux Professional Services. And we also have
Hope Malvo. I'm the CEO of Veaux Professional Services, and I'm so excited to be here today.
Yay! So again, Bell Professional Services is we like to say that we are modern HR. We have a holistic approach to HR. We deal with the inside out. So culture is so important to us because we really feel like it is everything. It bleeds into every part of your organization. But this conversation is going to be so pivotal because we're going to just do a deep dive on why people not getting it right. And so let me go ahead and there we go. So it's going to be a different feel this time. I'm going to pose some questions to Hope and give some of our opinions of how we really feel, what we see in the organization or the landscape today. So for me, um if we go back 10 years, even 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I felt like no one heard or was talking about the word culture, just the word culture. It was, it's a vibe in the organization, or this is just the way things go. But now the word culture is visible. You see it in magazines. People talk about strategic workplace culture, culture this, culture that. And then so it is a word that we use, but I just don't understand why CEOs and companies still not getting it right. So if you know that it is important, it is the lifeblood of the company, what is going on and why aren't organizations prioritizing culture? Because we know of it. We can't say it's a lack of knowledge now. Like, we know it's important. So I did want to ask you, Hope, what do you think is the reason behind this stagnation when it comes to culture?
Yeah, I mean, directly related to the CEO, I think that those CEOs know it exists and they know culture is happening within the organization. I also think they are not clear on what the
Mm,
culture really looks like for their organization, and I don't want to say oblivious to it again because I think they do know it's happening, but what's happening in the C suites and what's happening in the field and or in the actual work environment and the work atmosphere, it's a disconnect there.
mm,
They're two different cultures happening. And when a CEO walks the floors and speaks to the employees, well, the employees are literally on their best behavior. So
mm.
they see a different version with a different lens of what culture really looks like for their organization. So though they know, I don't think they quite get that culture may not look the same where from their view, right from their
Yeah.
world view of their organization. It's just, this is gonna be a probably a weird analogy, but it's just like having children. It's like I know who my kids are, and I know how I view my kids, but other people see them differently, right? So people have a different view of CEOs have a different view of cultures versus the actual employees and what's really happening, because culture is still happening and someone is determining it.
Mhm.
Just CEOs don't always know what's
That
really going
that's a good point because I notice in the workplace, like a iceberg, you have your strategies and your services, and we're trying to do all the things in financial, but underneath the surface is culture. But I don't feel like CEOs are saying, you know what, it's my culture, like that's why everybody's leaving, or that's why we're not operating at our full potential, because it's the culture behind things. So it's this invisible real force to be reckoned with. but
Yeah.
CEOs are missing like saying this is what's going on. Would you agree, disagree?
I
Mhm.
100% agree. And it probably has something to do with the fact that culture is not always, I mean, it's not used as a business metrics. You know, when we think about
Mm,
how we measure our business success, culture is not one of them. And it should be. Culture should
yeah.
actually be one of the business metrics because culture drives performance, which drives profit. The type of culture that you create determines in a lot of cases the outcome, the production. I mean, it's everything. So if you, and an example of this is if you have an innovative culture, and you're an innovation company and you create a culture where there's actually learning, right? There's actually learning, and people get to fail and get rewarded for failing just because they tried. Then you have this culture that's full of innovation and ideas and different ways of doing things and always challenging the next person to think bigger and greater. That ultimately leads to, well, more innovation, which is probably better than your competitors because you're constantly pushing that, and that equals profits for the organization. So I think if you make it a metrics,
mm,
then it really does become important to you. And honestly, that's how we should judge it. How are you
mhm.
looking at culture, and do you even measure it?
So, with that being said, let's take a deep dive into the complexity of culture. I mean, you said a lot of great points, and I'm going to make a statement. And what do you say? Ask for forgiveness afterwards. Like, this is probably going to be controversial, but I do believe that culture is not just rolling out our mission and our vision and our values and expecting our employees or expecting to see some type of shift. And let me give you some more context to that. So you want to just say this is the company's vision and then that's it. Like, as an employee, and something that I love about Vote, we are always putting ourselves in the employee's perspective and position. Like, how do I carry out this vision of safety first? Like, what does that actually mean to me? And that's why another reason why I feel like CEOs missed a mark. They understand it's important, but they're not prioritizing it because it's so complex. It's so many layers of culture, and it is invisible, but it has so many rewards when you do focus on it. Am I making sense?
You are. No, you are.
I felt really passionate about that.
No, I mean, let's just talk about it. Culture doesn't happen in an empty box. It doesn't happen in an empty company. So culture is complex. The idea of it is complex. I mean, culture equals behavior, it equals beliefs, it equals rituals, it equals how we do things around here. And we can either be intentional about how we do things, or we could haphazardly do things,
Mhm,
and someone defines the culture. And I think that's really the message for the CEO. The culture is being defined whether the CEO is coming down and saying, hey, this is what I want to see, this is how we do things around here, or the person that's been with the company the longest, that's in the break room randomly talking to all of your new employees.
mhm,
When we did mergers and acquisitions, I used to always ask who runs this place, because we would go to plants and there is a key employee, and I had to get their buy-in. I had to get them to come to. I needed to be their friend because I knew once I befriended them, I could pretty much find out everything that I needed to know just through that one person. And just
mhm.
by even talking to them, I understood the culture, the behaviors that I would actually see within the organization. So it is complex. It's complex. And it's like anything. Um, Culture is intentional. You
It
have to be
is.
intentional in creating it, or it just happens.
And I find the person with either the strongest personality or, the jokester, the one that everyone likes,
Yeah.
they set the tone for the organization, not these values that we, put on our website or told everybody that one time. It's that unspoken, this is the way we do things around here. And employee new people are going to conform to whatever is the way of doing things because we don't want to stand out. We don't want to be like, oh, look at the suck up or anything like that. Like that is really happening if you go back to your childhood days in high school, elementary, like that happens in companies. So how do you, it's more than just doing that one layer and thinking that it's going to be aligned. But this just brings me to my next subject is time. So that saying, there's no time like the present. So for CEOs out there, I know you may be thinking this is time consuming and then we just want to shy away from it, but then at the same time this takes time. So it's like two things can be positive or true at the same time. Like you need to start now, but then this will also take time and resources, and it's not like a one thing. Like you'll be constantly changing and like, oh, this didn't work, or let's come at it from another angle. So what would be your advice or tips or anything to that CEO that's looking at time and I got a fire happening now, so you want me to stop what I'm doing and focus on culture?
Yeah, I actually do. Do, especially if you have a fire happening now. Exit interviews are a great way to measure your culture and to if you truly take the feedback. But I say that time is everything, and I think if you spend the time building a strong foundation, and I don't know any construction CEOs out here, you know better than me when you're building something how important the foundation is. And if
Mhm,
you're building a structure, and it's going 50 stories high, depending on where you want to go, where you want to grow to, um, you want a strong foundation, and you
mhm,
have to look at culture as that, your strong foundation. How is it that we build a solid organization? Right now a lot of companies have a straw foundation, and people are falling through, things are falling out, processes aren't happening, it's not consistent, and it's because there's something wrong with the foundation. So
mhm,
you pay now or you pay later, but
mm,
you're gonna pay. So you may as well, and I don't even mean like monetarily, I'm
yeah.
talking about truly knowledge, resources, all that goes out the window when you lose an employee, especially an employee that's been with the organization for a few years. And you have to spend time understanding what you want your organization to be. I presume that you're a CEO is because you're either the founder and you created you have an amazing way of doing dot 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 whatever you're the SME in, or you're a CEO because you're an amazing leader and you create and build amazing companies. In order
Mhm,
to do that, one part of that is to build great cultures,
mm.
right? And we find ourselves in situations where we're like, well, we just want people to come to work and do their job. Yeah, we do. Well, let's give them an expectation. How do they
Mm,
do that around here? Burger King makes burgers a certain way. McDonald's makes burgers a certain way. They're both burgers, but they taste very different, right? I'm going to presume the process is different, but we're still making burgers, right? So you don't go from, and this is what happens. You have people that have Burger King experience working at McDonald's without
mhm,
any training of how
mm,
things in McDonald's. It's the exact same thing. So they're making milkshakes differently. Like, this doesn't taste like a McDonald's milkshake. What's going on?
yeah.
You got the Burger King employee
Mhm,
making McDonald's burgers and milkshakes. That's what's happening in organizations. Like, we hire people based on their experience and their skills, but then we don't teach them how to do things around here. So they have their skills and they're taking that company, they're bringing all their culture over here. And now we have this disconjointed way of doing things, and we don't know what to do. It's because we didn't create expectations and behaviors that we wanted to see.
I don't know about you, but I'm hungry now, so
Oh,
I'm ready
McDonald's, Burger
to
King.
eat burgers like that. But
This is what we look.
last subject before we move on, and you kind of alluded to it, but I did want to circle back. This is to the CEO that thinks that I think I got it right. Like my employee engagement is fine. The employees say that they like working here. what are some things that you would advise a CEO if they feel like I got a good enough, like we doing it okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could have best. Right now you got a good. You want best. We want best performance.
We want
We
Chick-fil-A.
want Chick-fil-A. We like Chick-fil-A, okay? So no, I think that we do as companies sometimes, especially CEOs, you're 30,000 feet in the air and you're doing the level best that you
Yeah.
can, and you're like, I mean, we're making it work, we're making it happen. I mean, I just say imagine a world where you get to really control the output and the outcome, where again culture being a metrics and you're being able to measure it. And I will also say to be able to control how your company looks and how people are being treated within the organization is very, very powerful.
Mhm.
Um, you have it's an opportunity there. If you're saying, we're good, we're making it, and you're not saying, oh wait, we are amazing. And how do we know this? We measure this through feedback and customer service feedback loops and different
Mhm.
things like that. If we're not getting, eights, nines, tens on a 1 to 10 measurement, then there's probably some culture issues there, and we can improve. And it's in your best interest profit wise
Yeah.
to create a sustainable culture, and you get to choose what that looks like. You get to choose it. So yeah,
Mm.
you definitely need to focus and hone in on it, because we want best. We don't want good.
Good
We
enough.
don't want all right. We want
Mhm.
the best place to work. Notice it's not a reward for a good place to work.
Mm-mm. You don't get no reward for that.
No, no, we want to be on the
the
best place to work list.
the only thing I wanted to add to that is because if you Google, how do we know our culture is measure our culture, it's going to tell you get feedback, get feedback, get feedback. But I do want you to be mindful, CEOs out there, just giving them a survey um doesn't foster honesty for the employee. Like, I may not want to fully share the underlying culture. So how can you as CEOs out there have anonymous feedback, bring in someone like some consultants to truly foster that trust within your employee and experience what the true culture is. Hope said it earlier, like the CEO is probably not experiencing the real culture. They are on their best behaviors. They don't want to put their job in jeopardy. So be mindful of that and be creative when you're trying to get that feedback of what their true culture is. They could just be telling you what you want to hear, and that doesn't foster real change. But with that being said, oh, go
One
ahead.
one other thing I did want to say: engagement is not culture. Does not give
Mhm.
a good reflection or necessarily the culture score, because depending on who the employee is, they'll be engaged regardless. That's who they are. They have a strong work ethic. They are just an engaged employee. You would want to determine culture specifically based on culture, how we do things around here, if those things look disconjointed. So I did want to.
That was a good point, because yeah, we've definitely experienced that. But thank you again for being on this live. We wanted to roll out our culture pop-up workshop. Yes, we will pop up on to your site or your location and do a 1 hour leadership team meeting. Of course, we can do it in person or virtually. We don't want to limit. We are in Houston, Texas, but we want to foster these brainstorming sessions to really talk about the behavior, the culture, and how we can align it with what's currently happening and what is our desired culture. Because I cannot stress enough, culture is behaviors. How is your employee going to live out that value in their day-to-day job? So no worries, we can speed up that time, speed up that knowledge for your small to mid-sized companies. So definitely reach out to us via email and let us know if you want us to come and facilitate, and let's turn that culture around. Anything you want to add, Hope?
No, just the benefits. That team alignment is extremely important. Those actionable insights that you get from it, and the skill building. I mean, that's something that you'll be able to build a strong foundation with this culture pop up workshop.
Yes. So again, I just wanted to thank you so much for your time. See you again next Thursday, 1:30, same time, same location. Bye guys.
Bye. Talk to you soon.